How do you pick a private equity investor? Very simple. Size. I was about to make a joke, but I won't because it's inappropriate, but size does matter for private equity. Size is a major cutoff. So when you're looking at, there's some private equity investors who invest below $500,000, some between a half and five, some five and above. It really depends how you are. Some have a big sector focus. So there's a whole load in alternative energy. There's a whole load that does tech. There's some people that do material sciences. What kind of businesses do any of you want to open? Give me an idea. What kind of business are you in? Anybody in anything? What are you in? You have to speak really loud. No, I'll have to come round. Right, so artificial intelligence, that would be a good area. There'd be lots of people that would love it, and they'd be queuing out the door. Why? Because some of them need some artificial intelligence, because they haven't got their own, but the other reason is it's a good area and it makes lots and lots of money. So if you're in the right area, you can do really well as a startup. I'll tell you what they hate. If you go and say that the market for, I don't know, the market for computers is 50 billion, and if I only got 0.0001%, I'd be a very big company. That is just stupid. And when you're an early stage startup, do you know what it's about? God cursed us by the creation of Excel, not this building, but the spreadsheet. Every business we ever look at has the most amazing spreadsheet showing fantastic returns. It's rubbish. What they want to know is why it's you, why you're special and different, and why you're going to be successful. The numbers follow the story, not the stories follow the numbers. If you can articulate why it is your business is special, you've got a chance. If, on the other hand, you've got the most amazing spreadsheet that's 10 gigabytes that crashes his computer, nobody cares. It's irrelevant. Have some numbers. You know, I've seen a startup business calculate in the year 2020 how much the cleaners would cost for the enlarged building. Do you care? No. And what you've got to do if you want to get money, this is really important. All of us have a very short attention span. All people who invest have a very short attention span. In fact, all people who invest have a very short attention span. So therefore, if you cannot grab their attention with a very short, punchy summary, they're never going to look at you. Because do you know how many hit their desk in a day? Loads of them. And they're all the same. They've all been done by a business school. They've all been copied. And I've read thousands of business plans, and you've no idea how I groan when I see one land on my desk that's come out of a business school. It's got to be punchy, exciting, with a few colors in it, a few pictures, something that says, why you? Why you? And something that says, why will this business fail? That's quite interesting, because I've never yet met a startup business that doesn't have the following. It is disruptive technology. It is the best management team. It's got a sales advantage, a price advantage, and it's got a customer base that's huge. And all I ever think, if that's true, why haven't you sold anything? And we just keep seeing it. So don't do that. Think about it sensibly. Don't oversell. Try and explain why you're special. People like passion. They love passion. People like aggression. But what they don't like is huge business plan, and they like you to think about why you're going to fail. What's wrong with it? Why won't it succeed? The easy bit is why will it succeed? And don't worry too much about numbers. They are important, but they're not everything. There's also, by the way, just out there are a lot of things like ethical funds. You familiar with ethical funds? If you're in that, there's also people, non-profit organizations. There's also things called social enterprises. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of people that want to get you going. You just have to help them. I genuinely believe there is no shortage of capital in the UK. Genuinely. What there is a shortage of good and well thought through business plans. Too many people don't think their way through it. They don't challenge themselves. So if I gave you one piece of advice, and by the way, from my compliance department's perspective, I don't give advice, but were I to give you, which I haven't, it would be think it through, challenge it. Don't sit down and say, what is wrong with this? You know, when James Dyson came into 3i, you all remember James Dyson? He said to us the following: "I've got a Hoover." And we said, "Well, do we need another one?" He said, "Not really, I don't know." We said, "Have you ever made one?" He said, "No." "Have you done a prototype?" He said, "No." "Do you know people want to buy one?" "No." "Have you ever run a big company?" "No." "Have you got distribution?" "No." And do you know what we did? We said no. Were we wrong? Well, we spent a long time looking at that, and we realized one thing. If we'd to get a James Dyson, we'd probably have been better off betting at the 330 at Haydock, because it was a guess. We didn't know. The probability is he would have succeeded, he would have failed. But for every single Dyson, there's 10,000 who fail. And you cannot have a business model investing in lucky winners. It just doesn't happen. And every time I read a book about why Google were brilliant, or why this one succeeded, they're written after the event. I can tell you a search engine would be successful. I can tell you an online auction will be successful. What I could never tell you is which one, and neither could they. So when you're thinking about your business, think about that. Why are you going to be successful? Interesting enough, every single startup business I've ever looked at, business model at the end is completely different than the one they started with. When Google first came out, it didn't have Google Analytics because there was nothing to analyze. When QXL or when eBay first came out, it didn't charge people on the way. It couldn't. Interesting. Okay. Retail bonds, they're a bit of fun. Anyone seen a retail bond? Okay, yeah, they're good fun. Hotel Chocolat. Do you know how you get your interest in Hotel Chocolat? You get boxes of chocolate. So you go along to Hotel Chocolat, you're a member of them, you give them 5,000, and every year you get £350 worth of chocolate. Has anyone been to Hotel Chocolat? Okay, so it's a quarter a box, isn't it, roughly? You don't get much in Hotel Chocolat. My biggest mistake in life was the 14th of February. I'd forgotten to get my wife a Valentine's Day present, and Hotel Chocolat was cleared out of everything, and they only had the very big box. Now, what's worse, a Scottish accountant spending £200 on a box of chocolates, or a Scottish accountant going home to his wife with nothing? I went for it, and I'm still thinking about it. £200 and a couple of chocolates. I mean, they're mad. Did anyone buy from them here? Gemma does at the back. We pay her too much. So there's things like Hotel Chocolat. There's things like, have you come across King of Shaves? So loads of these are typically consumer companies who raise funds in a very innovative way. What they do is get their customers to lend them money, and they pay them interest by way of razor blades. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, anybody been on it? They pay by way of holidays. There's loads of these going around. They're a bit of fun. Have they raised huge sums? Not really. They haven't. They've raised maybe 2 million, maybe 5 million, but it's not about to replace banks. But it's good fun, and it's great. You get great publicity from it. So everybody think it's great. Okay. Crowdfunding. Now, I'm not brilliant at this because this is for young people. I still can't work it out, but basically, it's modern, fast, online, and lots of people do it. It's working. If you look at it, the amounts of money is 600 million. That's quite a lot of money. There's quite a lot of people borrowing that way. But it's still less than £100,000 per case. And last year, the list of new loans for Funding Circle was 51,000. But for some of you, it could be a fantastic opportunity to raise money very quickly from people who were not going to be that intrusive. And it's cheap to get. So there's a whole load of that. By the way, I'm trying to work out. Dan, do you want to come up here and explain what these mean? Because your girlfriend drew them. Come here, tell me. Come on, Dan, up. This is we have to borrow some youth from time to time. So this is my youngster. So go on, Dan. What the hell is that?
So that's an angel with the crowd behind it. That's driving it to success in the van. And then the other one is someone that has crowdfunded, that managed to stand out in front of the crowd and is being crowd surfing.
Right. I did ask him, and he did tell me beforehand, and I couldn't remember. But that is, isn't it? Right, moving on. So, how do you raise money? Very simple. That's it. Oh, you won't be familiar. This is a cookbook. use these when you don't use the microwave or when you don't go to restaurants. This used to be used many, many years ago in a kitchen when you were making things. Examples are Mrs. Beeton. If I know how to get it through to you people. Downton Abbey, they use them in that, don't they? Okay, so what you need is 1 litre entrepreneur. Hands up if we got any of those. Any entrepreneurs here? Hands up, come on, wake up. Good, got one of those. Have we got any strong management here? Yeah, good. Anybody got a business plan yet? Go home and write your business plan. And if anybody writes one more than 10 pages, start again. Go and write one, make it 10 pages, make it exciting, and just keep boredom away, do some pictures. I like pictures. Get some financials. Solid set means not pie in the sky. And then you present your business case. Have any of you watched Dragon's Den? Life isn't like that. It really isn't. It doesn't work that way. But what I will say to you is you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So if you are going to present your business plan, make sure you know what it is that's special and different about your business. If you can articulate that, I always explain it this way. If you didn't exist, why am I creating you? If you didn't exist, why would God create you? If you can't explain that, why the hell's the funder going to be able to back you? So go away and think about why you exist. Make the business proposal compelling. Don't use jargon, because just because you understand it doesn't mean anybody else will. So make it English. I went to a compliance seminar yesterday for an hour play, 2.5 hours. I knew what every word meant, but not in the sentences they put them in. I couldn't understand what they were talking about. I came away and I can't remember a thing. Whereas if you can make it short, sweet, and compelling, think of it as an elevator pitch, because it is. You're pitching your movies and you're the star. And what you've got to do is pitch it as if you're pitching a movie. Make it easy. Then you've got to plan far in advance and from a position of strength. So think about what's going to happen next. Now, if you get your business plan, if you make it short, and by the way, what I really suggest you do is start talking to people early on, get a feel, get flavor, test market it, go and talk to your dad's cousin who really knows about it, because you need people, and don't let people who just tell you, isn't it wonderful, very sweet, and pat you on the head. You must be challenged. But remember one thing, if you sit here and do nothing, then you've not succeeded. If you move from here and write a business plan, then you won't be stuck 30 years from now, like me, having to talk to you. So get out there and do your business plan. That's me, unless anybody wants to ask any questions. Or if you all died, sort of. Anybody ask me a question, even if it is, what's the weather outside like? Anybody want to ask me a question? David? How do you recognize a good plan? It's one, I've only ever seen 2 disruptive plans ever in my life. One was a business called Tony Stone Images, which was the world's biggest photo library, which became Getty Holdings. And that was because it was exciting because nobody had stock photography. They had the best photographers in the world, and they had distribution. Because they had distribution, they got the best photographers in the world, and because they had the best photographers in the world, they got distribution. So nobody could come in and get it. They had the best pictures of the Eiffel Tower at night. They had the best pictures of everything. So I don't look necessarily for the disruptive, the best ever. What I tend to look for is, do I believe this person when I look them in the eye? Do I think they've understood the risks? Do I believe that they are driven and they understand what they're doing? And that to me is the key. It's about passion, it's about the market, and it's about not being lazy. They've asked themselves questions. And when they're challenged, they really have thought it through. So that's the kind of thing. To get a meeting, you have to have a plan, but the plan doesn't need to be very long. Just give me an idea. So like if I heard the words artificial intelligence, I'd immediately go, yeah, that sounds interesting. Then the next stage is, where do they fit within it? Can they explain it to me without me being a rocket scientist? Can you articulate it? I was working with a VC the other day, and we were having a big debate about why incubators fail, incubators for startups. And we decided that if you incubate a chicken egg and expect to get an elephant, you won't get one. And most of the things going into the incubator are the wrong people. They are incubating scientists. And we live in a world, and I believe this really strongly, it's not having the best product, it's an advantage, it's having the best marketed product. We live in a world, and I have to be careful, where Starbucks exists. It's not good coffee if you like your coffee, but they're a fantastic brand. We live in a world where VHS beat Betamax. It shouldn't have done. Where 8-track lost to 4-track. It shouldn't have done. I want to hear, how are you going to get to market? Not about what's under the bonnet. Everybody spends far too long explaining to you how their technology is different and how it's better. Who knows, maybe it is. But it's not the best technology that ever wins. For God's sake, we have Microsoft. It's about the one that had the best marketeers. I don't know. Am I going to get sued by at least 20 people? No, I'm not. Good. Yeah, sorry. It's interesting. Okay. I was being asked about return on investment for particularly tech companies. Most early stage tech companies don't make a profit. And what people are looking for early stage is not profit. Not going bankrupt is also helpful, but what they're looking for is the growth in turnover. Because if you're to have, so I'm dealing with a company in technology at the moment, we think this company turns over 15 million, doesn't make any money. We think we're going to sell it for 50 to 60 because it's growing so fast. And once it's absorbed the cost of growing, it will just throw off cash. So the main way you value it is about what it will look like in 5 years or 7 years, and then you do a discounted cash flow backwards. But it's not really about profit initially. Profit is a lovely thing to have, and I'm a great fan of it, by the way, I really am. But for many businesses, it's about investment in the business, it's about growing the business and showing you the market presence. So if you gave me a business that made 3 million and was flat, and you gave me a business that made 1 million and growing at 30%, I think I could get more for the 1 million business. Anything else? No? Okie dokes, I've done my bit. Thank you very much indeed.